Hey YouTube, it's Pro for Life. Today we're going to take a little bit of a different twist. Obviously we're usually talking about outdoor gear, survival gear. I ended up over the summertime getting my very first drone. I actually ended up going with the DJI Spark. Specifically just for filming. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a little bit of a hobbyist. I wanted to get some really cool shots. This Spark, they specifically designed to be like a beginner's drone, kind of your first drone ever. They've really kind of stripped everything down and given you a real starter's option for $500. The drone only with the battery, a spare set of blades, and a cool little carry case. And that's what you're getting for $500. And a lot of this is really set to autopilot. These things, you don't have to constantly play with them so that they stay level. They actually have an auto leveling feature in there so that when it takes off, it's just going to hover there perfectly. It sets its own GPS location and it knows where to land. If it gets in trouble, it knows where to go back to. I've sent it up in the air, I've sent it down, kind of down the way a little ways, and when it lost signal, it stopped there, waited for a minute, and then went ahead and flipped around and went right back to where I launched it from and landed automatically. And that's without me having to do anything. You do have a 2-axis gimbal, and what they mean by that is you see how it twists this way, and it also will turn up and down. That's your 2-axis gimbal, and what that means is it'll stabilize your shot. Even with a little bit of wind, you'll be amazed at how clear and how stable these shots will be. But with some of the higher end drones, you're going to get a 3-axis gimbal and it's going to do a little bit more for you. Additionally, this camera is only 1080p. Now for me personally, again, I'm a hobbyist. This is my first drone. 1080p was fantastic for me. It doesn't do 4K though, and that's going to be a common complaint with the DJI Spark that you're going to find with a lot of people. I personally don't care about that a whole lot. Like I said, I'll probably, in the end, if I end up using this more and more, upgrade to like a Mavic or something like that. But as far as a family drone, this is fantastic. I think most interestingly of all, and the reason that I would still just hardly recommend this if you want to do any sort of cool footage, is the app itself. So the technology built into this allows you to track subjects within the frame. You get the drone up in the air, you've got everything connected, you kind of do your pre-flight checks and all of that, and then you can actually tell it, I want to focus on this subject right here, and I choose the type of shot that I'd like to do. I go ahead and hit record on the video camera, and then I just let it fly itself. And as long as I've kind of made sure that there's no obstacles around, it's not going to fly into something, it really does the work for me, and it gets some amazing shots. Assuming there's not a lot of rain, not a lot of wind, it really does some amazing things. And I think as far as like a family drone, like I said, phenomenal. You just can't beat it. It comes with some pre-fabbed flight modes for the picture. So for one, again, like I said, you can use the gestures, you can send it out there, have it take a 4K still shot of you or some family members, really, really cool. You can kind of wave and it'll send it down the way, kind of give a wider shot if you got a bigger picture you want to take. Even without the remote, with just the app on the smartphone, you can tell it to do a circular shot, like a helix. Tell it to do what's called a droney. So instead of a selfie, it does this, you focus on the group and it'll pull back and up and fly away and give you just an amazing pullback shot. And then of course it'll just do strictly following shots. So track this subject, give me a nice following shot. You can even tell it to start circling around as it's doing the following shot. And like I said, guys, it just takes all the work out of it. It does the heavy lifting of getting those cool shots. In the $500 package, like I said, you're getting the drone, you're getting the battery, and you can download an app and actually fly it. But what you need to be aware of are the limitations around that. Your range is limited, your speed is limited, but it can do some very, very cool things just on that. If you pay $200 more, you can get what's called a Fly More pack, which is going to come with an extra battery. It's going to come with a cooler kind of carry bag. It's going to come with the remote controller, which is huge. You know, honestly, looking back, I wish I had bought the Fly More package because I've slowly kind of bought accessories to go with it, and in the end, it would have just been cheaper to buy the $700 pack. But I knew I wanted something just to start out with, get a couple of cool shots. You've probably started seeing those in my videos, just more for my own hobby work, as well as, maybe throw a few in the videos here and there and kind of make them more interesting for you as viewers. In terms of specs, so you're talking about, like I said, about 10.5 ounces, just the drone itself. Size-wise, as you can see, this thing's tiny. I mean, it's about the size of a smartphone with maybe some extensions, the wings coming off of there. With the smaller drone, on a full battery, you're getting about, give or take, 15 minutes of flight time. So you need to plan accordingly. If you want to keep it up in the air and get more footage, you need to invest in a couple more of these batteries. But the battery itself is intelligent. And what I found is it's a little bit temperamental. If it's too hot, it won't take a charge. If it's too cold, it won't take a charge. It's a little bit of a diva. It needs to be right in that Goldilocks zone. And so I've kind of learned to play around with that in the hot summer. I was taking a cooler out with me. So with this remote set up, you can actually fly the drone, I think with this model, about 1.5 miles. Top speed on this is actually quite a bit faster. So you get 1.5 miles range, but you can also switch it over here. You'll notice a little thing here that you can flip it to sport mode. That actually kind of takes away a lot of the limitation. It's not necessarily meant for smooth camera work, but it allows you to really fly this thing fast and kind of do some twists and turns. Max speed is like over 30 miles an hour, which for a tiny little drone like that was amazing. One thing I found really interesting is the moment that I bought this drone, I became very aware of the regulations around drone piloting. So I guess the landscape has really changed over the last few years. And a lot of regulations, depending on where you live, have been placed on just being able to go outside and pilot a drone. It's not just like going into a Best Buy and buying a drone and you're cool to fly anywhere. You really do need to know before you send this thing up. Okay, there's a lot of privacy concerns, danger concerns that people have. It's really interesting. So at the very least, I had to, because of the weight requirements on this, I had to go and register my drone and get a little serial number that I've written on the battery on the inside of the drone. One thing that DJI does though to kind of put your mind at ease is that they keep a constantly updated database of where you can fly and where you can't. So if you remember, I mentioned this drone grabs a geographic location, it grabs a GPS tag every time you send it up. So it will actually give you a warning. If you're too close to, let's say, an airport, a government facility, somewhere where it's actually restricted, maybe they have an ordinance in place, and there's different levels. Free to fly, there's some places where you'll start sending it up and it'll say, hey, you need to attest here that you have permission if it's applicable and you take responsibility for flying the drone, and you just kind of quickly fill out a form and click yes. There's other places where it won't even let you fly. I haven't tested it, but I believe you could still send it up from a hand gesture because you really can't send it up high. You're just kind of taking a selfie like any other camera. So I think with gestures, you can still send it up in restricted zones, keep it local, take a quick shot, and land it in your palm. So all in all, I've been super impressed. In fact, it's easy enough to learn. I think for the money, it's definitely an investment, but you're getting into the drone game, the professional level drone game, at a lower cost just by sacrificing a couple of features. So take that with a grain of salt, decide kind of what's going to be best for you. But boy, a few months in, I've got this thing down and I really love it. I haven't looked back at all. Hope you found this video useful. Please go ahead and give me a like, share with your friends, and feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, if I've earned it, and you want to be notified of future videos that we do, we'd love to have you. So thanks for watching.